What makes you the happiest? What gives you genuine happiness? And you feel your eyes heavy and relaxed, your prefrontal cortex shutting down, your brain making those feel-good chemicals and sometimes hypnagogic hallucinations taking over, seeing them so clear, intertwining with your soon-to-be asleep thoughts. Body feeling warm and comfy like a feather resting on a cloud. Mine is watching my cat doing something stupid because it doesn't understand physics or that actions have consequences. Earlier today I'd poured a bowl of cereal, and he came up on the counter wanting to be loved on, and while I was petting him he kept trying to express his affection by attempting to roll on the bowl of cereal, surprised every time it started to tip, every time. Love that stupid motherfucker. It's difficult to tell the difference between genuine happiness and enough distraction. Food, like video games or playing the piano, makes me joyful while I'm eating it. I believe that the things that make me truly happy are the ones that happen infrequently, if at all, and are beyond of my control, such as being complimented or receiving physical contact. I am not sure if this is a post-lockdown thing because it seems more frequent or if I am just rocking my style lately. But I have gotten a lot of compliments on my outfits by other women lately, mostly strangers, and I ride that high for days. Never underestimate how good a random compliment can make someone feel. As someone struggling with severe depression that has totally destroyed my self-worth, it feels so good to be seen once in a while. These strangers have no idea how much it means to me, but it really does. So that's my brief happiness sometimes. My old dog passed away yesterday. It was time. She was sick, but it was the hardest goodbye I've ever had to say. She used to snore all night. I never really noticed how loud it was until my first night of sleep without her in over a decade. The silence was almost deafening. I know one day I'll feel happy again, but it will never quite be the same. I think you have hit both of the top items at once. Volunteering has been shown to be the best road to happiness. Helping others, having a cause, making the world a better place. All of these things gives you a sense of purpose and contentment that you can't get anywhere else. That and my pop, he always makes me warm inside. I worked for Humane Society many years ago too, and there's nothing they love more than volunteers to come in to play with the cats and walk the dogs. If this is something that you love to do, please call your Humane Society. A friendly dog be thrilled to have a walk and a lonely cat would love the pets. Trying new things, especially with friends. Other day I did go-karting for the first time. Also the first time I drove, I felt super excited. Wow. It's so nice to see that a lot of people can relate. Smile. I obviously wasn't the best at it. I didn't want to get in an accident in the process. I just hit up some old friends from school and they invited me over. I have a habit of canceling plans last minute due to my anxiety, but I actually stopped myself from doing it. The pure joy of trying new things just made me feel like a kid again. It literally boosted my confidence. I really felt the rush and I just embraced the experience. I totally get this. I always tell people I'm an experience junkie, because I am so happy to try things only once to say I did. It can be something really simple like a day trip to a town nearby I've never been to, or something once in a lifetime like doing background work on a TV series. It's always so fun to expand your horizons. I once worked as driver for a doggy daycare where I fetched them from their homes in the morning for swimming, grooming, and training, etc. before returning them home. At first I was quite nervous on the job because I was worried about how they like me. Some dogs were apprehensive at first, but as the weeks went by, they were super excited to see me each time I showed up, and that was one of the greatest feelings ever. I miss that job sometimes. This does it for me too. Like a dog in an elevator that seems so goddamn happy to meet you and get his head patted. People say dogs can sense when someone is a dog person, but I suspect they are adept at looking at body language, expression. They probably see someone with the smile whose heart rate picked up a bit and figure, ooh, this dude is going to scratch my head. I'm going to go over and say hi. What kind of scenarios we talking about? Disarming a deranged gunman and saving the day, winning a rap battle against Eminem, starting a choreographed dance routine that everyone inexplicably knows the moves to, an IP Man-style training montage of you practicing kung fu on a wooden dummy, doing your own stunts in an action movie. Yes, this is the best thing. My daughter is 1. It doesn't matter how short, long I have been away, I'll return and she does a huge happy squawk and does the arms up grabby hands so I pick her up. I also love it when she laughs at something I have done, especially when it's accidental. For instance, I was cutting her toenails yesterday and I absent-mindedly blew on her toes to get rid of some of the stray nails and she thought it was the funniest thing ever. I guess it probably tickled, which makes it even better. I was raised by a single mom since I lost my dad when I was 10 months old. She didn't remarry, so raising us was not easy. Fast forward 21 years, now we're at a much better place, both financially and mentally, although her physical health isn't at the best. But being able to see her relax and smile after a long time makes me genuinely happy. Added some context, sentence structuring edited. I am so heartwarmed to read this. I am a solo parent and the day in day out is just gut-wrenching. The financial part is just beyond the mental drain, soul-crushing. Kid's dad disappeared when kid was 3, and no family to help as I'm in a foreign country to boot. I try my best to goof off and do fun things with my kid, yet the burden of having to carry everything alone, it's so heavy. I feel unfun. So I'm glad to see that you understood those hard times affected her then, and that when the hard times disappear she springs back into the person she really is and you see it. Thank you for sharing this. It helps me realize that I am not alone in this as a solo parent, and that this is normal and my child will see this when times change and also when he gets older. Add content. I was once playing work with my 4-year-old nephew. We were sitting there pretending to type on computers and we have grown-up work talk. I asked him about his kids and he told me they were good and then proceeded to ask me about mine. I said I actually don't have any kids. His little head popped up from his computer and he said, "What, you have me?" He almost looked offended. It made me so happy. I said, "Of course I have you, but my pretend work self does not. So maybe they're not technically your kids but they actually are yours and you are theirs." I've experienced so much trauma and loss in my life. Music is the one love in my life that has always stood the test of time. My love for it never shrinks with tragedies, grief, anxiety, pain, depression, heartbreak, or despair. It's always there with me, like, it's a part of me. Maybe sacred is the right word. I'm not sure. Music is the only life partner I can truly count on, no matter what. Two ends of the spectrum reply. Spending time with my family in the evening playing board games. This time, when all the kids will happily play something as simple as a children's board game, will not last forever. Soon they won't be as interested in mom and dad and boring old board games, so I treasure the time. Dancing on at raves in my earlier days. This was way before the main commercialization of house music. It was people purely out for a great time dancing, up to their lids on dubs with serotonin going bananas as you dance the night away. Unbeatable. Playing with my 15-mo son is right up there. It's such an angelic and surreal moment to see my son happy. It's like an obsession lull. I think other parents can relate to that obsessiveness when it comes to their kids. The other thing that makes me happiest is going to watch QPR, my football team. We're not the best but I'm still a street holder for them. The feeling of being in the crowd when your team scores is impossible to explain tbh. When I'm at QPR I'm not dad, husband, boss or friend, I'm just fabulous and it's my time to myself in a place where I can just let go of everything and only care about one thing for 90 minutes. I feel the same. I was just telling my daughter how it felt when she fell asleep with her little head in my chest and used to make a pool of drool. After that, she would wake up with her hair making weird shapes and her half-awake face was the cutest thing in the world. She is a teen and luckily hasn't grown out of hugs. It's incredible how much fun we can have with kids if we just take the time to try. Also, I will never forget her telling me you're playing it wrong to a game she just made up XD. This probably sounds like the most boring thing in the world to others lol, but my husband and I just bought a house, which we've been dreaming of forever. We have no furniture but a tiny, old sofa and a TV. When we're sitting squished together on that little sofa in the empty living room staring out our window with a cup of tea in hand, it makes me so blissfully happy. I go for morning runs with my dog 3 times a week, getting out into the fresh morning air at 5 a.m., while all my neighbors are still sound asleep and seeing nothing but the stars above my head, or the sunrise in the summer, is something I'll never get tired of. It makes me a genuinely happy little insignificant speck of dust in a great, amazing universe full of infinite possibilities. Playing new games, playing with my friends and or sister, and helping, both in games and in general. New games give the fresh start feeling and a new adventure feel, which is a high of its own, and the game usually try to amplify this feel. Playing with friends and my sister is obvious cause it's always fun, and the laughs that usually come with that are pure joy. Helping is rewarding, both thrilling in games or gives me a smile to know I helped someone who were otherwise stuck, lost, or and maybe also put a smile on their face too. I was pretty much broke most of my life, and only in my 40s did I make it. Prior to that I could never entertain at home despite me loving entertaining and having friends and family over. Either I was too broke or lived in such a small house that having guests over was impossible. I would always get invited to family and friends and always feel ashamed that I could never reciprocate. Now I live in a big place with a huge garden and BBQ area, and I absolutely live for having people over and feeding them. Nothing pleases me more than seeing people I love with a full stomach and a drink in hand sitting on my deck saying fuck no, I can't even have another bite. Bonus points if they have to loosen their belts. We've just gone into spring, which means BBQ season is around and corner, which means pool parties and any excuse for a BBQ and having people over. I can't wait. I have a little cousin that's more like my little sister. She's 13 now, the same age I was when I started babysitting her and her brothers, so I suppose she's not so little anymore. It makes me genuinely happy to spend time with her and see her grow up. I love to make her laugh, and I love hearing about things she's excited about or crazy antics that go on in class. She's the reason that I stick around on this earth. I love my dog, and I love the way we understand each other in a really unique way. We have a way of communicating that we called Doglish, where we'll tell her something complicated, and she just gets it. Right now it's I don't want you to leave this couch, but I do need you to rearrange so I can sit next to you, and she just gets up and rearranges without jumping off the couch. It's pretty cool and humbling to be chosen and loved by another being, especially one outside your species. When we understand each other with a glance or a gesture, it's pure joy. Helping people who don't ask for it or expect it. My mom randomly sent me a pic of an MRI machine and said it was really claustrophobic. I panicked because she'd been having trouble visually focusing, keeping her eyes aligned, and I instantly thought they were looking for a brain tumor. Nope, she has a benign growth on her shoulder that they didn't want to biopsy. So trying to come down off of that panic attack, I was playing Final Fantasy XIV and the healer kept making me nervous as the tank. I took a look at their gear and it was shit. Everything was at least 5 levels behind. We were in the high 70s. So, they're from my server and I told them to message me when we're done. What they have on is BS. I went to the market board, got everything I could afford and handed it over. Made very clear that this wasn't some creeper thing. I just wanted to make sure they didn't have to deal with jackasses. Felt better after that. Helping people helps both people involved. I used to be the biggest partier, the one who would drink or take the most, the one would mix stuff because their tolerance to everything was too high to enjoy most things alone. The one only got 3-4 hours of sleep per night because of untreated autism and untreated ADHD giving me insomnia. The one who never studied but always got A's. Until calculus came along, that's how I found out I had dyscalculia. The one who was a super whore. The one who was super lonely despite being quite sexually active. And the one who was quite the asshole without realizing it. Most of that changed after my diagnosis, which showed I had severe ADHD and Asperger's, or just being high-functioning autism, depending on where you live in the world and personal preference to the name of high-functioning autists like myself. I became a nicer person with much more empathy towards others and showed a lot more restraint in my personality. I met someone who, in every noticeable aspect, seemed to be the one for me. In college, I blew it. I had a mental breakdown and went catatonic for 2.5 weeks. She moved on. We stayed friends until she left the state with another guy. She's still a great person, and I'm glad I got to meet her and be her friend. I dropped out of college unable to balance school and trying to better my mental health while also exercising to benefit my physical health among other things. I saw a beautiful Instagram model who lived in my shitty Parkway pothole podunk town in middle of fucking nowhere, Kentucky. So I shoot my shot and get rejected because she has a boyfriend, but I do find out that a close friend of mine is a close friend of hers. Fast forward 3 months after I had tried to message her, and our mutual friend had to be hospitalized. Our mutual friend, despite being attractive, didn't really have friends. Her standoffish personality did her no favors, and her family always mistreated her. So it was just the Instagram model and myself at the hospital to wait for her for 9 hours until they'd release her. Model and I start chatting about anything and everything. It's like I found part of my brain and it was just reconnected to my body. We hit it off big time, and on top of that, I found out her boyfriend of 2-3 years was really awful to her firstborn son, and that said boyfriend, despite fathering her second child, was not a very good person or parent, and that he in fact got worse after she had given him his first child. He wouldn't properly care for the children, who were 2 and 1 respectively, or really do anything to parent, not even clean them, while she had to go to work to earn money for the household. She had been really looking to leave him but was worried about what would happen if she took that leap. Sadly, the start of our relationship wasn't all rainbows, as now ex and the father of her youngest child committed parental kidnapping and made multiple false accusations against my now girlfriend so that he wouldn't be thrown in jail for parental kidnapping. All 12 claims he made against her and I were thoroughly investigated with agents up our ass for at least 3 hours for each visit and each separate investigation. It was proven that we were adequate parents 13 times, an extra one the judge ordered after the first claim, and the only thing we got wrong out of those 13 investigations was the 10th investigation, where we got marked off for not having proper drinks for our child, who had drank all the apple and orange juice that morning, because even though she could see the bottles in the trash bag, it appears you didn't count because it wasn't in the fridge. Such horseshit. The dude ran off to Nebraska and we never saw the youngest boy again, and the law just didn't and doesn't care about our situation. I know this is a really long post already and that I haven't exactly answered the question. So, here are those pure happiness moments that my now wife inspires within me. When I get to spend time with my wife, when I see her geek out over something and just talk about it, whenever we get to geek out together, hell, if I'm the only one interested, she will let me talk as long as I want to and listen to every word even if she has no clue what I'm talking about. When we both had long or bad days, and spend our downtime side by side cuddling or just sitting together on the bed not talking, just enjoying each other's presence while doing separate things on our phones so we can relieve the daily stress from our minds. The look on her face when I surprise her with a gift or doing something sweet. It's so wholesome. Happiness-inducing moments from my son. Whenever I see my son, who is not mine biologically, doing things like me or talking like me or even really goofy details like sleeping the same way I do, when my son, who usually enjoys being a troublemaker, chooses to do the right thing, especially if it's for another person, when he gets so excited that he tries to geek out like his mother and I but he lacks the vocabulary to properly communicate his ideas. He's 5 at the moment, will be 6 in December. Anytime he gets creative, as long as it's not him doing something dangerous. I love it so much. It's adorable. Anytime I stop and think about why he can be such a troublemaker at home in the moment, it hurts my feelings or scares me. But after it's over, I remember how good he is at school and how well he pays attention, especially in math class, and then I remember that he only gets himself into trouble at home because he trusts my wife and I enough to choose to act out and express himself. In other words, it reminds me that I did a good enough job parenting since he's so good at school and for those who watch him for us.